Canada, we hit the rock charts on iTunes in Canada. So that was crazy. I mean, it's been charting all over the world, and I don't even know how to see everything. I just by accident see it. I mean, I saw it because our PR guy, Michael Stover, had found it on iTunes, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm glad somebody's paying attention. I would have never even noticed, because it charted for about a week on the Canada Rock charts, squished somewhere between Paul McCartney and AC/DC. I was like, what the hell?
That's right.
My God, it's crazy. I was like, what's going on? Is that us? I kept refreshing the page just to be sure that it was us. Like, is this a hack? Cool.
And you were like at 73 out of 100 too. It wasn't like, you were still in the top end. And
I just kept going, went all the way up to number 4 and watched it climb, and then equally watched it fall. But it didn't matter. There's just like being nominated for a GMA award. I'm like, I won. Yay. It's all good.
I tell you what, let's crank one of them. Let's do It Shouldn't Be This Hard right now. Across the board. Here we go, everybody. Thank you, Jackie.
I told you many times the price to pay for comfort was corrupt. I showed you all the ways to realize the daydream was enough. You're pushing off the aftershock of empathy and disregard. Whoa, it shouldn't be this hard. Whoa, 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 shouldn't be this hard. Whoa, could've told you from the start. Why'd you take the time to open up your mind? Whoa, shouldn't be this hard. You never wanted me to tell you about the way I pass my day. You never notice when I struggle, when I cry, when I'm dismayed. You never stop to analyze or verify or take account. You never wanted me to monitor or scrutinize your time. Whoa, 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 shouldn't be this hard. Whoa, could've told you from the start. Why'd you take the time to open up your mind? Whoa, shouldn't be this hard. I told you many times the price to pay for comfort was corrupt. I showed you all the ways to realize the daydream was enough. You're pushing off the aftershock of empathy and disregard. Whoa, it shouldn't be this hard. Whoa, 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 shouldn't be this hard. Whoa, could've told you from the start. Why'd you take the time to open up your mind? Whoa, shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't be this hard. No, it shouldn't be this hard. I could've told you from the start. No, it shouldn't be this hard. No, it shouldn't be this hard.
Thank you, everybody. Across the board. It shouldn't be this hard. Guest is Jackie's aboard with me right now. Hello, Jackie. Welcome back. Thank you.
Hey, good. How are you doing, Tom? Thanks for having us on. Andy and I are here with you tonight.
That's right. Thanks, Andy. Thanks for joining in.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks for having us.
Oh, you're such a great part of the band, of course. Jackie's a great partner over there. Tell us all the great fun that you're having with the band and all the links that you help us with this.
Well, right now we're just we're finishing off our summer tour, and we have a lot going on. Other than closing that off, we have Indie Week, which we're playing next week.
Yeah, we have Indie Week here
that.
in Toronto on November 6th through 9th, and so on the 7th we're playing Indie Week.
Yeah, and then we play the big Movember festival that they have out in Kitchener.
So
Waterloo.
that's another cancer fundraiser for Movember. I don't know if you guys have Movember, but in Canada we've got Men's Health Month, which is November, and all the guys they grow mustaches for men's.
Really?
And so they call it Movember with the mustache.
Cancer.
I gotcha.
Men's health, yeah. And so we're going to be playing a great big musical marathon for the third year in a row in Kitchener, which is close to us here in Toronto, on the 25th. And that is hosted by a good friend of ours, Brian Peter, and his truck, who's a famous personality in Toronto and around the area. Bob Blue, he's an old blue Ford. It's a Ford or a Chevy. Very old truck, very well kept. I was going to say from the 50s.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
40s or 50s. It's like old, but he keeps it up. Anyways, it's become a personality. So it's sort of Bob Blue's musical Movember marathon madness thing. It's super cool. It's got like 9 or 10 bands over several hours. So they raise money for cancer. And then we've got our big homecoming show on December 1st, again at the Hideout here in Toronto. The last time we played was our launch for the tour, and that was during a huge power outage here in Toronto. We had like the Toronto apocalypse where we had a big windstorm.
Yeah.
And we still had a full house come out to our show, so we were pretty grateful for that. People were having to jump trees and like go by ambulances and knocked over.
I think we're looking at another full house for the 1st of December again.
It's been a great tour. We've had Jessica Speciale on with us on tour because we're sort of label mates, and through MC2 Music Media, who's our producers. And so we've been touring with her all summer.
There's a lot going on. Yeah, there's just so much.
And then she was over today. We wrote another song, as I was telling you offline, and we've been writing like mad for our next album. So it all sort of overlaps, everything, you just have to keep going. It's like with any business and any entrepreneurial thing, or anybody who's a consultant or anybody who's a freelancer, you do your work today, but you've got to also be working for what's coming up tomorrow,
Yeah, and I remember you telling me you came out as my guest and you had that power outage. A lot of people came through. You had generators, and everybody came to your rescue for your premiere.
Crazy. And the guys, they went out and got 2 generators and then got a bunch of light strings from IKEA, and they got ice and filled up the bar, and so it was crazy. They rewired the entire bar to the sound set. It was amazing, and we still had a full house. I don't know how it all happened, but it did.
They made it happen.
It came together. Oh my goodness, it's just been crazy. So this is sort of the final show of this tour, and then we're going to take a little bit of a break, and then we're heading back out on the rail again. We were telling you about our Canadian Rail tour because we did write a song called Back to the Tracks for the album, for the Sonic Boom album. And so we're going back on the rail December 28th through January 8th. So we're going to be spending New Year's on the train, taking and performing for passengers who are coming from abroad and crossing Canada from Toronto to Vancouver and back.
Wow, that's awesome, because we talked a lot about, we talked a lot on my show here about how that part of Canada is what everybody sees, and Back to the Tracks is talking about, all the tourists. They're seeing not always the great parts of Canada, as you were trying to express to me on the show.
It's not so great parts. They see all these beautiful, beautiful, landscapes. And then suddenly you get into the cities and the towns, and we're seeing the junkyards of people's backyards, and it's like, what is this about? I know that's what we see in Europe when we're on trains and in the States, but like, clean up your yards, people. People are coming from across the pond, and they're looking and seeing us live like a bunch of slobs, like clean up your yards. So that was what our song was trying to coax people to come back to the tracks and not only take the train, but also to have a look at the trains that are going, through your backyard and make sure that we're showing the best of both sides of our houses.
That's going to be fun to jam that song on the train.
Yeah, exactly. We've been playing it all summer. It'd be fun to jam it on the train because we actually wrote it about the train that we're going back on.
On the train, actually.
On the train, yeah, it'd be fun.
And on New Year's Eve, too. Is that correct?
Yes. So we're going to be on the train.
We should be like in Jasper at that
Yeah,
time.
we'll be probably going through the mountains during that time because we get in on January the 2nd to Vancouver, and we play January 3rd, and we're playing a show January 4th in Vancouver, which will be the start of our Across Canada tour. And then we're going to be taking our songs across Canada the other direction, starting from, again, the train back to Toronto, and then we're going to spread out a little bit, maybe backtrack a little bit, go forward east, go back west, and throughout the rest of the winter and into the spring, we're going to be jumping cities across the country, so we're excited about that.
Is your train, is it all kind of decorated that time for the holidays? Is it a holiday-looking train? I'm just trying to picture what you're doing.
I have no idea. I really don't know. I guess we'll find out.
You'll find out when you're up.
We've never been on the train, on the Canadian. It's called the Canadian. It's the flagship train of Via Rail. And it's a high-end passenger train with like 5-star meals and Michelin chefs. And you could stay in a small sort of bunkie area, or you could be in a deluxe room in the back. So they typically put us in the middle of the train in a closet, but the closet has bunk beds. So, but there are less expensive places that are kind of like couches with a curtain, and then the couch opens out into a bed. So, and if you want to go very cheap, you can stay in a seat that reclines at the front of the train. So they have, something for everybody, all kinds of budgets. And I think there's even a little curtain, like you could put your seat back and bring a curtain across so you get a pretty decent sleep. Those are mostly for people who are maybe only going one stop, because you don't have to go all the way across Canada, of course. You can just go from city to city. But for the people who tend to take the train out and back, they do tend to get a bunkie or some sort of a cabin,
Is it a pretty smooth ride, or does it depend on what part of the train you're on? Is it like you said in the front where the stewardship or whatever they had in the ships, back in the cheap area?
No, it's the same. It's the same ride everywhere on a train. But I'll tell you, at night they boogie, because during the day they make stops, and they plan it out so that the nighttime there's usually not a lot of stops, and they usually try to pick up speed because the freight trains get right away, and there's only one track going one way and one track. Sometimes there's only one track at all. When you get into the city, the bigger cities, there'll be multiple tracks, but there's usually just one track for most of the way, which means you got to go and stop at one of those switches as a passenger train and wait for the freight trains to go by so you don't crash into them.
I was going to say they better not be coming the other way.
So that's how it works, So we not have the right of way. So sometimes the 3.5 day trip from Toronto to Vancouver becomes 4.5 days. So they usually make up a lot of time where they have room. And that seems to happen a lot at night. So you'll be, in bed wondering what the hell is going on. And you realize you look out the window. It's like, what's going on? Why are we traveling? Usually you're traveling about 50 to 60. The thing can go about 80 miles an hour, but you're usually traveling about 50 to 60 miles an hour. And then sometimes you look out and that you're not going 50 anymore, So it's fun though. It's fun. But I remember Andy and I, one night we couldn't sleep. We're like scared the bloody thing was going to derail.
Oh my God. That does sound crazy. Well, I'll tell you what, let's go with that right now. Back to the tracks, everybody. Jackie is my guest, and Andy from across the board. Thanks, everybody. Happy Saturday night.